game notes, it notes that you're one win away from tying Dan McCarney. I know for the most wins in program history as a head coach. I know how much respect you have for him. I know numbers don't mean a whole lot to you, but what does it mean to be basically on, potentially soon, on a line with him like that?
Yeah, I just, number one, I think obviously what Coach Mack did here for the longevity of his career, what he took over when he came into Iowa State, obviously what he was able to build here laid the foundation for everybody following him to really have a chance to have true success. And I think for me, you're just grateful that you've able to been, at one place for as long as we've been able to be here. I would say any success we've had is because we've had great coaches and obviously great players along the way. And so, you're just grateful that in this profession to be able to have some longevity and to be able to try to build something that means something. And I think Coach Mack really laid the foundation, and he laid the opportunity for all of us that followed him to be able to build and have success in this program.
And the linebacker is obviously very banged up, but you get Kale in on short head, mid-back for long, comes in, he's in the headset, what he did, just that group as a whole. Cooper said the word they look at is progression. They feel like they're doing that, and the guys who were hurt are doing that in terms of recovery and leadership. Just how have you seen that room grow?
Yeah, I mean, just that group has had just a warrior spirit really in terms of how it's really responded. And I think the first point is you got to talk about the guys that are injured and how they've been elite coaches. I mean, what Carson Willich has done every single day in practice and how he's been coaching that group, and how Caleb has been, literally Caleb is in the hospital and Kale is sitting, in the hospital bed going through practice film with him. To watch those guys and watch, Will McLaughlin, what he's been able to the value of playing as a young freshman, helping those guys from a mentality standpoint. It's been really rewarding to watch, and it's been rewarding to watch the guys who have played just continue to grow and get better. I mean, Cooper's game from week 1 to week 2, I think he made a huge jump in his game and his play and his confidence. Obviously, Kale really wasn't playing that position, so you threw him in terms of 2 practices to get ready for obviously that opponent in that environment. And I thought just even the courage to do it and then progress throughout the football game was really huge. And now to be able to get another week of practice and kind of get some time to really get ingrained in that position, it's been fun to watch. And obviously what Jacob Ellis has meant coming back off of 2 years of injury and, really has missed 2 full seasons of football, and to be able to finally be back and getting his opportunity and seizing it, it's been awesome to watch. So, though that group in general has been really impressive, and you're right, I guess progression would be the right word, and I think leadership would be the other word that comes to my mind from those guys that have, obviously going through personal hard, but being able to, have enough courage to get them and lead the others. It's been awesome to watch.
Matt, you talked a bit about the growth that you were hoping for having a bye week just 2 games into the season. Was this past week as beneficial as you thought it would be?
I don't think you ever know until you get back on the field and play. I think what we really wanted to have is, what did you see in the first 2 weeks? What adjustments could we make, whether it be personnel or scheme related? And then, we were beat up. It was a really physical fall camp. It was a really good fall camp, in my opinion, and I thought we played a physical brand of football the first 2 weeks of the season. And not that it was perfect, but I think the physicality matched what we wanted to get accomplished. And so I think getting some guys back to full strength, and I think all those things were really big. I think that we're so young in so many areas that we really looked at it as like another week of fall camp, and we were able to have really quality practices last week, which I thought was huge. It's different maybe than a later in the season bye week. We were really able to stay on par with what's our rhythm of how we prepare for a game, and I thought our kids handled it really well.
You kind of talk about getting on par earlier in the season. Is it nice to have it this early on where you have 2 games under your belt where you can be like, okay, these are the things we need to work on, rather than looking at practice film and hoping it translates into the game?
Yeah, I think that is nice. I mean, from my end of it, when you don't control really the schedule, so you kind of you play the cards you're dealt and you try to use it the best way possible. But I was certainly excited about how our schedule, fell in terms of having that early buy. I think with this team to use tangible evidence of game video, where are you? Where are we? Everybody's got stuff that they need to work on, whether it's coaches or players. And man, how do we address it, and how do we fundamentally grow? How do we schematically grow? And I thought our kids really took great humility from our first 2 football games and understood there's a lot of growth to go. We want to be great as the season progresses, and obviously there's a lot of work to do for us.
You had said that both offensive linemen, Hazard and Travis, had practiced the week of the Iowa game. Now they get that other week. How do they look coming into that, and are they going to be able to maybe impact the offensive line on game day?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously that's going to be a battle. That offensive line played, I thought, really well last Saturday and is continuing to grow. To me, there's great competition. Every position, you got left tackle and with James, and obviously getting Jalen back, and certainly left guard with what Trevor Burr's done, and really pushing what that looks like. At center, there's great competition. At right guard, obviously with Dalen right now and where he's at, and certainly pushing Brendan, and Tyler Morrow, Tyler Miller, both those guys have played. So to me, I still think we're kind of where we were at the beginning of the season. It's early. We got to see what's the best combination and who practices the best. And the great thing is the guys that have played have earned some confidence, I think, along the way, and deserved confidence, real confidence, because, man, they played some 2 pretty stout opponents, and, obviously preparing for another opponent that's going to create a lot of chaos, and it's got great athleticism. So it'll be a great challenge Saturday.
And then you mentioned that the bye week was kind of an extension of fall camp in a way. Did that allow you to kind of look at the 2s, look at the 3s, assess that a little bit, and maybe who are some of the guys that you were pretty impressed with?
Yeah, I think it's still, I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like it changed super much from, at least how we've really practiced. I think, we've been evaluating this team because there's still so much competition. And, I think there are a lot of really talented guys that are continuing to try to push for playing time, whether that be on special teams or certainly offense and defense. And, I don't know if there's a name per se that rings a bell, but I think that's what's great about some of these Saturdays coming is, man, if you've earned the right to play, you're going to get on that field and have a chance to seize your opportunity. And again, I think that's probably been the fun part about this team so far, is some of the guys that have, the Cale Berzinas and some of these guys that have stepped in. And, you've heard me say this a lot, college football is about, you're going to get your shot, you're going to get your opportunity, do you make the most of it? And, some guys do and some guys don't, but it's certainly how you prepare, I think, helps you be able to make the most of those opportunities. It's been fun to watch the guys do it so far, and hopefully there'll be some others along the way here that can really help our team.
I don't know if you said it explicitly there, but will Jalen and Dalen be available?
Yeah, I think both will be available. It certainly looks like we're trending that way right now. And again, both those guys got, reps the last 2 weeks. I think, both are on a really good progression. I don't know if I would say they're at full strength, but I think they're really close to it. And so I think both guys would certainly be available.
What stood out to you about Arkansas State?
Well, I think, it's certainly the most athletic team in all phases of the game. You look at their punt return and kick return team on special teams. You got an elite punt returner, multiple punt returns for touchdowns. You got an elite kick returner. Both those guys are electric on the offensive side of the football. You look at their defense and all 3 levels of the defense, they've done a great job. You talk about athleticism and talent on the D-line. They're creating havoc and sacks, and man, you could just turn on the film from last week. And, veteran linebacker crew that's played a lot of football for those guys, all conference players in their conference, and guys that can run and tackle. And then, it's really the same thing in the secondary. They've done a great job. They got length, athleticism. They've made plays on the football early on. And then you flip it on the other side, and it's going to be tempo. You're going to get, potentially 2 really talented quarterbacks that can both throw the football. They can really challenge you in the running game. Really great stable in the backfield. That's been super talented. Guys that are explosive, can run. Even their offensive line, I thought, really athletic. A veteran center, some really good players that are showing up in a really positive way. And then obviously at the skill positions at receiver, probably most impressive. collectively across the board guys that are making big plays and playmakers. So they certainly challenge it different than we've been challenged so far this season. You know, they're going to play in space. They're going to play with athleticism, and they're impressive. So, you know, Coach Jones has had success no matter where he's been. He knows how to put together great teams, and this is certainly a really talented team coming in here.
Matt, when they want to snap it so quickly for your defense, how much of a challenge is that in terms of communication?
You know, I think that word right there starts it all, right? Is I think when you play a team that's going to play with great tempo, is they're going to really challenge your communication and your discipline in terms of playing your responsibility. And you know, the number one thing that has to happen is you got to get communicated, and you got to have the ability to get lined up. And you know, I think this team obviously challenges you to do that, and I think that's why you see so many explosive plays from them offensively, is their ability to almost get people out of rhythm, get people out of, you know, their alignment, get their eyes wrong, and they have the ability to then make great plays down the field.
Coach, this is going to be Iowa State's first game ranked in the top 25 this season. Is there any added pressure that goes with that, or is it just another opportunity to say, you know, we deserve to be here and here's why?
Yeah, I don't think there's any added pressure. I think the reality of it is, you know, we've learned this, I think, so many times along the way that I think the end of the season determines who you want to become. And obviously, you know, you want to continue to grow and get better. I think the fool's gold is you get better from week 1 to week 2, and you should. But the great teams get better every week, and it doesn't matter of where you're ranked, where you're at, what you're doing. It's like, man, how do you have humility? How do you learn? How do you grow? And how do you work to get yourself better? And you know, every challenge is going to be different and unique. So, yeah, I think at the end of the day, we want to be our best at the end of the season, and you got to work every week and every day to really get yourself there.
Jalen Jackson, I think, had 5 carries for about 25 yards in the Cyhawk game. What is his potential as he continues to learn and grow the offense with his experience and athleticism?
Yeah, boy, I thought he was electric, you know, in that game. You know, I think Jalen's deal has been really fun. You know, he really started off spring ball with a bang. I would have told you midway through spring, he was probably one of our most impressive players through spring practice, and kind of got dinged up, missed the second half of spring ball. And then really came back and had a great fall camp. And so I think what Jalen brings is, number one, he brings great maturity. Number two, he certainly has been in multiple offenses, has had to play in different systems. And so I think his confidence in our system has just grown from fall camp to where we are right now. And, you know, he's got the ability, one vertical cut, and he can make you miss. And he's a great football player in space, and he's got great speed. So certainly a guy that can be, you know, unique and different, and also a guy that can really add value to the offense.
You talk a lot about precision and detail when it comes to the needs and the way to win a football game. How much does his experience help focus on his precision and detail along every single assignment?
Well, I think what experience gives you in the world of precision and detail is the how-to, right? I think that is what it takes is, man, how do you prepare to practice well on a Tuesday and a Wednesday? Man, how do you prepare to get yourself mentally right each and every Saturday? I think this sport is paralyzing to a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds with the pressure, with all the noise that surrounds college football, let alone the personal pressures that all these young people have. And so I think when you have veteranness and you've been through the highs and the lows that can get created in a football season, it really allows you to kind of own your own process. What's it take you to be the most consistent version of yourself that you can be? And obviously Jalen's been through that road, and I think what you see from him is the same guy every single day, and that's obviously really valued from our football program.
Yeah, Matt, I know Kale Brzezina has a wrestling background. Do you think that's part of what's allowed him to help kind of build his body to be a physically mature linebacker at this point in his career?
Did Coach Dresser plant you here? No, he didn't do that. All right. No, you know, Kale is, I'll be honest with you, the first time that I ever saw Kale was in recruiting his junior year, and it was in the wrestling room. And, you know, to me, you got to be really tough to wrestle, right? I mean, I'm a huge fan of young people that certainly grow up in that wrestling community, because I think it takes precision and detail to win in wrestling. And, you know, Kale came from a great high school wrestling program. And, you know, he was wrestling. They had a heavyweight that I think won the heavyweight state championship that was going into Kale's junior year. He was a senior. And, when I went in and watched practice, that's who his wrestling partner was through practice. And to watch this young guy battle this, man, really talented wrestler, and just I watched him move and how he moved him around the mat and his mentality, you knew that there was this young person that had a chance to be really highly successful. So I think Cale would tell you, sure, his wrestling background has been a huge addition to his success and his ability to have confidence and to be able to play the game of football. But for me, obviously, multi-sport athlete fan, because I think it really challenges you in other areas to mentally really grow to prepare yourself to have success.
Touching back on the offensive line, with the chance to view some of the tape, how have you seen that group continue to take some steps forward?
Well, I mean, geez, I think they've certainly been put into some really tough situations early in the season. I think if you follow this North Dakota team, I think we felt very confident this was going to be a really good challenge, a team that was going to, really try to challenge the box. And, they did. And, I think that's hard early on in the season to get that. Then you talk about, obviously, what we went against the following week and, that environment and the ability to, the ball's on the 1 yard line, the ball's backed up, the ball's, in some really tough spots. You got to protect in a 2-minute situation, all hard things to do. And so I think the one thing that's been rewarding for this offensive line is it's gotten really hard moments in the first 2 weeks of the season, and it's been challenged. Are you where you need to be? Where can we continue to grow and get better? And, at least so far this group has been able to stand up and kind of raise up and answer some of those challenges, and still has a lot of work to do, but has been really challenged in the first 2 weeks. And again, I think will be greatly challenged again this coming week.
Somewhat related question, how has that protection, the offensive line, been able to give Rocco merged with his patience and the ability of your playmakers to make big plays to have Rocco, I think, 6 games in a row with a 50-yard pass?
Yeah, I think that's not just obviously the offensive line is such a key piece of that, but I think it's a huge contributor to the running backs and the tight ends and obviously the quarterback. And I think one thing about Rocco is he has such a great understanding of the game of football and at times directing protections and, helping that group out. I think Jared Hufford's, veteranness at center and his ability to be an anchor in there, I think those two have been a really good 1-2 combination in terms of our protection game and really kind of setting us up for success. So I'm certainly proud of those guys. And, I just think as a whole, that group has certainly done a great job so far. All right, thank you.